Let me ask you something. How many of you feel like you're running as fast as you can, yet somehow life isn't moving for you? You grind, you hustle, you plan, but the results, they're just not showing up. And the harsh truth, yes, I said harsh truth, is that it's not the economy, it's not your boss, it's not luck, it's you. Somewhere along the line, you've allowed your own fears, your own doubts, your own excuses to quietly take control, and now you're stuck. But here's the thing, being stuck isn't permanent. It's a signal. It's life saying, wake up, stop playing small, stop waiting for someone else to hand you permission to be great. You see, every single one of us has the power to break free, but only if we stop lying to ourselves, stop blaming circumstances, and take raw, brutal ownership of our lives. And that's exactly what we're going to confront today. We're going to pull back the curtain on the excuses, the fears, and the habits that are quietly sabotaging your success. And we're going to start a conversation about one simple truth. Until you take action, nothing changes, nothing moves, and nothing grows. The first truth you need to face is that nothing in your life changes until you take full responsibility for where you are right now. Most people spend their lives blaming external forces. It's the economy, it's my boss, it's my upbringing. But here's the brutal reality. Those are just stories you're telling yourself to avoid the discomfort of responsibility. Excuses are the poison that silently keeps you small. Every time you say, I can't, or I don't have the time, or it's not fair, you are willingly handing over your power to someone else or to some circumstance outside of your control. And while that may feel safe, that same safety is what keeps you trapped, spinning your wheels and wondering why life never seems to break in your favor. True growth, true transformation starts the moment you stop blaming and start owning. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, this is on me. This is my life. I am responsible for my results. That doesn't mean the challenges around you aren't real. Life is messy, people disappoint, opportunities get lost, but those things are neutral. They are only as limiting as the meaning you assign to them. The difference between someone who achieves and someone who stays stuck isn't circumstance, it's accountability. It's the willingness to examine every choice you've made, every habit you've formed, and every fear you've let dictate your actions. The moment you stop pointing fingers, you begin to reclaim control. You start to see that every failure contains a lesson, every setback holds a chance to pivot, and every obstacle becomes a training ground for resilience. Accountability transforms you from a passive victim of life into an active architect of your destiny. It's uncomfortable, it's humbling, it requires courage to admit where you've fallen short and to face the ways you've been sabotaging your own progress. But it is the most liberating realization you will ever experience, because once you take full responsibility, you stop waiting for permission and you stop waiting for someone else to fix things for you. Your life starts to respond to your decisions, not your excuses. You start to notice opportunities you never saw before because your eyes are no longer clouded by blame. Every action you take becomes intentional, every choice you make becomes aligned with your goals, and every setback becomes fuel rather than frustration. The next harsh truth that keeps people stuck in life is the invisible prison of their own mind, limiting beliefs. These are the silent agreements you've made with yourself over the years without even realizing it. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve success. People like me never get ahead. These are not facts. They are stories you've told yourself so many times that you now treat them like reality. And the problem with these beliefs is that they shape your behavior more than any external circumstance ever could. Your mind becomes the ultimate gatekeeper of your potential. Every time you hesitate, every time you doubt yourself, every time you avoid a challenge, it's not because the world is holding you back. It's because you've unconsciously allowed these beliefs to define the limits of what's possible. The most successful people in the world don't succeed because they are smarter or luckier than you. They succeed because they refuse to let limiting beliefs dictate their actions. They understand that the only thing standing between them and their goals is the story they're telling themselves, and they rewrite it. The question you have to ask yourself is, what stories am I clinging to? What beliefs have I accepted as truth without testing them? Because until you identify and confront those beliefs, nothing changes. Change doesn't happen at the surface level. It happens at the level of identity, at the level of the mind. When you challenge a belief that says, I can't, and replace it with, I will figure it out, you're not just changing your thoughts, you're reprogramming your life. And this is where most people fail. They try to act differently while believing the same old story, and nothing shifts. True transformation comes when you expose those mental barriers and refuse to let them run your life any longer. It's uncomfortable because it forces you to face the parts of yourself you've hidden from the world and even from yourself. But it's also liberating because once a limiting belief is shattered, a new possibility opens up that was always there, waiting for you to claim it. Every fear you've ever felt, every hesitation, every reason you've held yourself back can be traced back to a belief that you were never equipped to challenge. But the moment you do, the entire landscape of your life changes. You start to act with courage, to take risks, and to pursue goals that once felt out of reach. Because your mind is no longer the jailer, it becomes the launch pad for one of the most painful truths most people never admit is that the biggest obstacle in their life isn't a lack of talent, opportunity, or resources. It's inaction. You can dream, plan, visualize, and even strategize every detail of your ideal life, but until you take that first decisive step, nothing moves. Inaction masquerades as safety, as careful planning, or as waiting for the right moment, but in reality, it is the silent killer of potential. Every time you hesitate, every time you overthink, every time you wait for conditions to be perfect, the world keeps moving, opportunities pass, and your dreams slip further out of reach. The problem is that most people confuse motion with action. They busy themselves with small, safe tasks that give the illusion of progress, answering emails, organizing schedules, or planning endlessly, while avoiding the steps that truly matter. And while they do this, life is happening without them. The truth is brutal. Nothing changes until you move. Fear is always present when you're stepping into the unknown, but fear is not the enemy. Inaction is. Every successful person you admire took action long before they felt ready, and that action, even imperfect, created momentum. Momentum is what transforms small efforts into massive results. And yet, so many people remain paralyzed because they believe they need to be perfect, fully prepared, or fully confident before they act. That belief is a trap. Perfection doesn't exist in progress, only in waiting, and waiting never builds the life you want. You have to understand that mistakes, setbacks, and failures are not evidence that you shouldn't move forward. They are evidence that you are actually trying. Every moment you postpone action, you reinforce the patterns of fear, procrastination, and comfort that keep you stagnant. And the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to break free because your mind begins to normalize the status quo. Taking action is not about reckless risk. It's about bold, calculated steps that push you beyond your comfort zone and into the territory where growth happens. The first step doesn't need to be perfect. The first step doesn't need to be monumental. It simply needs to exist. Once you take it, you create a chain reaction. Confidence grows from doing. Clarity emerges from experience, and possibilities reveal themselves that you never could have imagined from standing still. Inaction is seductive because it feels safe. But safety never creates transformation. Safety never creates achievement. And safety never produces the extraordinary. Only action does. And the sooner you recognize that, the sooner you can break free from the stagnation that is held. Another harsh truth that most people ignore is that your environment, everything and everyone around you, plays a massive role in determining whether you thrive or remain stuck. You are not an island, and the people, places, and influences you surround yourself with silently dictate your habits, your mindset, and ultimately your results. If you are constantly around negativity, doubt, or mediocrity, it's nearly impossible to rise above it. Your energy, your focus, and even your dreams get diluted by the climate of your surroundings. That doesn't mean your environment is destiny, but it does mean that ignoring its impact is a costly mistake. Think about it. If you spend your days listening to people complain, criticize, or question your abilities, how long before you start adopting their beliefs as your own? If you consistently immerse yourself in distraction, procrastination, or fear, your mind begins to accept those patterns as normal. Growth is not just about what you think or how hard you work. It's about where you plant yourself and who you allow into your life. The harsh reality is that you cannot rise above the average level of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That is not a cliche. It is a pattern observed over and over again in every area of life. And yet, so many people remain blind to it. They wonder why they feel stuck, why opportunities pass them by, or why progress is slow without ever looking at the soil they're rooted in. Your environment either fuels your momentum or feeds your excuses. The people you admire, the mentors you follow, the communities you participate in, all of these act as mirrors, reflecting possibilities or limitations back to you. And if those reflections are weak, uninspired, or doubtful, You will internalize that and unconsciously limit yourself. On the other hand, surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, who inspire you, and who hold you accountable creates a gravitational pull toward growth and achievement. Small shifts in environment, who you talk to, what you read, where you spend your time, can produce exponential changes in results. This is why the most successful people are obsessive about their environments. They guard their minds, their time, and their energy like precious assets because they understand that even the strongest intentions can be diluted by the wrong influences. If you want to break free from stagnation, you cannot just focus on motivation or effort. You must audit your surroundings. You must identify the forces, the voices, and the habits that subtly hold you back, and you must be willing to remove them even if it is uncomfortable, because your environment is not just a backdrop. It is a powerful, invisible hand shaping every decision, every habit, and every outcome, and until you take control of it. The final truth that most people fail to grasp is that change does not wait for perfect conditions, clarity, or confidence. It begins with immediate action. Momentum is not something that comes from planning or wishing. It comes from movement. One small step, taken right now, has the power to create a chain reaction that propels you forward faster than any amount of preparation ever could. Yet so many people remain frozen, waiting for a sign, a green light, or a guarantee that everything will work out. That waiting is the enemy. Every second spent hesitating is an opportunity lost, and every missed opportunity compounds the feeling of being stuck. The most powerful people in the world understand that the exact moment they begin, no matter how imperfectly, is when transformation starts. Action generates results, results generate confidence, and confidence generates more action. It is a cycle, a force, and it is unstoppable once you tap into it. You cannot think your way into success. You cannot plan your way into breakthroughs. You must move. And it doesn't have to be a giant leap. It can be a small, deliberate step that shifts the energy of your life. The problem is that most people overcomplicate action, convincing themselves that if they can't do it perfectly, it's not worth starting. That mindset is deadly. Waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan only ensures that you remain exactly where you are. But the moment you take action, something magical happens. You gain clarity, you discover opportunities you couldn't see before, and you begin to attract the resources, people, and circumstances necessary to keep moving forward. Action also teaches resilience. Every attempt, whether successful or flawed, provides feedback and teaches lessons that no amount of thinking or reading can offer. The harsh truth is that no one achieves greatness by waiting, but everyone. He who takes action, even imperfectly, builds momentum that compounds over time. Your confidence grows, your skills expand, and your vision becomes tangible because movement produces results. And the beauty of momentum is that once it starts, it creates its own energy. The first step is always the hardest, but it is also the most important. Once you take it, the next steps become easier. The fear diminishes, and the path forward becomes visible. Momentum transforms hesitation into habit, doubt into courage, and dreams into reality. You don't need all the answers, you don't need perfect timing, and you don't need permission. All you need is the willingness to act now, to embrace discomfort, and to keep moving forward, because every action, no matter how small, compounds into the progress, success, and freedom you have been waiting for. And until you take that decisive step today, you will remain trapped in